The only necessary reason I'm wearing the Florida Panther jersey is simply because they won the Stanley Cup, and I will represent good old Sunrise, South Beach, whatever, just because they won the Stanley Cup. And I do not actually do have a Florida Panthers snapback. I don't have it on me. So this guy right here, though, did get from City Locks, that you can customize, get your own names on. By the way, I recommend them because they make badass product. And psych. That's what I'm gonna put on here. As always, we do stuff on this channel every so often. If I want to do stuff on the laptop, I will. If I do want to do stuff and change my thing up, I will. But there's that thing called the subscribe button. Definitely, if you like all the content, hit the like, throw a comment in every chance you get. And as always, before you leave, hit that subscribe button. You get alerted to more stuff, and we do appreciate you hanging out. But guys, as much as I did call the Florida Panthers that were going to win the Cup in 6, I don't want to make this a totally long video, literally, because the Florida Panthers, 30 years in the business, win their first Stanley Cup in the craziest thing possible, being up 3-0, blowing the next 3 games to Edmonton, and then have a game 7, a winner take all on a Monday night. That was probably the only bad thing that happened, was you had a game 7 on a Monday night. That might actually have been good for the NHL, because if it was on a Saturday or a Sunday, probably baseball would probably beat them. But there's nothing else major at this point in time, and the benefit that the NBA Finals were done first, which was kind of not necessarily predictable, because the Boston Celtics had a very, very easy run to win an 18th title, especially a gentleman's sweep over Dallas. Now, the Florida Panthers, what happened? Why did they finally wake up for Game 7? Well, first of all, the Edmonton Oilers woke up in Game 3 and got a goal. And then down 3-0, you're playing desperate. You blew them up 8. They got blown up 8-1. And I mean, McDavid and Andrew Hyman and Draisaitl and all those guys finally was like, okay, we're playing desperate. We can't do anything right now. Let's get a game. Then the conspiracy things happen. You get destroyed 8-1, and you're like, okay, it's okay. People plan these things out. Get beat up on the road in Game 4 so you can go back home and finish it off at home like Vegas did last year. And Edmonton did not let that happen. They came back and played a hard game, scored first, put a bunch of goals up, and they held on to win 5-3. And then it's like, well, we got to travel 2,500 plus miles to go all the way back up. And that saying, they said we got to do a job and drag their butts back up to Alberta. That's exactly what they did, and they played Game 6 and won handily, 5-1, to the point where even Game 4 they chased Bobrovsky out. So now it was a winner take all Game 7. Edmonton had all the momentum, but when you have that extra day of travel, Florida now has the mindset of, well, we had 3 chances to do it. We have Game 7. We have it home. Let's finish this. Let's finally play Florida Panther hockey. And they did. They scored first, but then Edmonton came back, scored another one. And then second period, Florida got that go-ahead goal by, I believe it was Reinhart that got it. I have to double check, and I could be totally wrong. Throw a comment if I'm wrong. But when Florida has the lead, they're pretty much down to earth, downright, pretty much check them off to win, because that's why they were one of the more defensive teams in the league. Remember a couple years ago, Florida won the President's Trophy, and they were one of the highest scoring teams in the league, and they got beat in the second round. I believe it was the second round they got beat. And then they fired the coach, fired the assistant, fired the GM. They hire a new GM, they get Paul Maurice from Winnipeg, and they changed the whole dynamic. It became a more defensive team, a more physical team, a more grittier team. You have a couple goal scorers, you have a couple leaders, a couple grinders. That's what Matt Tkachuk was. You still wanted those people, excuse me, to have, as far as trying to still be able to put points on the board, put scores, put goals on the board. And the rest of the teams follow suit of swallowing and just suffocating a team. And that's exactly what they did to Edmonton in Game 7. After that second goal, it was pretty much, I wouldn't say it was a boring game, but it was exciting because you were waiting for Edmonton to make a move, and they did a couple times, and came this close a couple times. But in those final 5 minutes, Florida just kept basically pretty much blocking shots, letting Bobrovsky see shots so he can stop them, and clearing that puck away, and then pinning everybody against the board and swallowing time. You can't ever tell teams you wouldn't want to win that way. It was fitting for Florida. That's the team and the identity that was put together. So in the end of the day, is this a little bit more charming than a bunch of mercenaries and assassins in Vegas winning 4-1 over Florida? Oh, absolutely, because the ratings were better because it was a 7-game series. This was the most watched NHL game in years, and it beat every single NBA final game this year. That's how much better the Stanley Cup is better than the finals. Trust me, I know. The Lakers have a bunch. Golden State had a dynasty. And, the Celtics will have 18 titles. The Sixers are always going to be talked about. The Knicks are always talked about. There's superstars everywhere, but it's so much the Players' League. NHL trying to do stuff that what the NFL does. You have a salary cap. You have manipulation. You throw draft picks and everything like that. And I know NBA's trading and all that stuff is so ridiculous because there's not necessarily a salary cap. There's a luxury tax and whatever. It messes me up. So I congratulate Florida because you have yourself a Stanley Cup championship, and now pretty much Florida needs one more thing. I wouldn't say just Florida. It's Miami. Florida, remember, Florida plays their games in Sunrise, and that's suburban Miami, about a half hour away. But it's still going to be considered Florida, still going to be considered the South Beach area, South Florida. So Miami pretty much has everything. The Dolphins have titles, but they're in a massive run with Tua and that offense. The Marlins are totally awful, but they have 2 World Series. The Heat always have Heat culture, and they have a couple titles. Now Florida's got themselves a Stanley Cup. They don't need to worry about the big brothers up north in Tampa. They are on the board with a cup. Congratulations. And I think I know what's going to be happening coming up. And if you know what I'm talking about, don't be surprised if it's a shocker that Inter Miami in the MLS and Lionel Messi and Suarez and those boys, they win the Eastern Conference. They will be hosting, and they have the best record, they will be hosting an MLS Cup in late November, early December. And if that would happen, Miami would be Miami, South Beach, South Florida would be a region of champions. And if I'm Inter Miami and you make that happen, don't play your games in Fort Lauderdale in that little stadium. I know you're getting one built. Don't play it there. Play it in Hard Rock. It's Lionel Messi. It's Suarez. It's basically Inter Miami is pretty much Barcelona light, and people are going to watch. That's how big Messi's got. So if you make it to the MLS Cup, which a lot of people kind of hope it happens, play the final in Hard Rock. Just do it. Don't be nitpicky. But the Panthers, you have your Stanley Cup. We salute you. We appreciate you. And as always, we appreciate you on this channel for hanging out here. You made it to the end of this video. I do appreciate you. And before you head out, hit that subscribe button so I can see your bloody butt back here next time the bar is closed. Thanks for hanging out, and let's go surfing.